Shalom. Shalom and welcome. Welcome to White Rose family. My name is Symmanayah, and these are the words I am compelled to present before an awakening nation. To you, O set apart ones, this is part 2 of Restoring Dominion, a series playlist, my brothers and sisters, designed to provide you with information that will contribute towards the preparation to be used to demonstrate power and might from the Almighty Father as he see fit. I will present the case how individuals that were used by the Almighty Father did go through a process and experience. They experienced some details and processes. And I believe, O Yashar'al, as these end times ramp up, as we witness COVID-19 ramp up, as we witness economic collapse before our very eyes, as we witness famine, pestilence, global warming, and climate change, as we witness all the extreme humbling conditions that is prophesied in scriptures begin to unfold, I will submit to you, my brothers and sisters, there's a decision-making process that is necessary to fulfill what is written. With that said, my brothers and sisters, let me read the disclaimer before I continue in this segment. Warning and disclaimer: the information contained in White Rose family represent instructions and warnings to individuals who believe they are drawn by the Almighty Creator Yahuah to Yahusha Mashiach. The content presented centers around end-time realities. Please be advised this site is not intended for children under 16 years of age due to its content, and that's to be compliant with the media platforms that I use, my brothers and sisters. By continuing forward, you agree to hold Symmanayah harmless of any influence and or actions that arise as a result of watching, listening, or reviewing the content presented. The views expressed do not reflect the owners, management, and or shareholders of this media platform. Please note, I am not affiliated with anyone or organization with similar names. My brothers and sisters, Yashar'al. Many people have been to a point in life where maybe they wanted to drive a car but not learn how to drive a car. Maybe they want to do something in life or to assume a certain career position but not go through the learning process. And I say to you, my brothers and sisters, just as the scriptures use examples of a seed dying and budding in the tree or vine, growing to maturity and then producing fruit, I submit to you, though some processes take longer than others, some are quicker than others. During these end times, as we witness COVID-19, the coronavirus, ramp up, as we witness uncertainty in the way we live, as we witness end time prophecies unfold, as we witness climate change and global warming, we will grow to know what it means in John 6:44 that the Most High Father will draw us to Yahusha, and how in John 12:32 where Yahusha said, if he be lifted up, he will draw all men. We will understand that in our worship and obedience, this is how it will come to be, pulling us away from all the turmoil, gathering us together for the final exit. Some will die for Yahusha's name as martyrs. Some will be the last voice to those around them as widespread destruction and death comes. Soon and very soon, my brothers and sisters, chaos will ramp up beyond our imaginations. We will begin to realize we have moved beyond types and shadows, and we are moving into a point that is written that will put a strain on our decision processes. But we who seek to discern and obey the Almighty Father will understand what we must do. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, hear these words. Decision-making is important. And if you have followed me as I speak on the feast times, the 7 major feast times, I speak of Passover, a time of getting instructions for life. So in Passover, we see salvation comes through the ultimate Passover, Yahusha Mashiach. And I say to you, my brothers and sisters, upon salvation, we must now be able to know we have been placed on a path to discern between right and wrong, to understand the difference between wicked and set apartness. And therefore he submitted before us the feast of unleavened bread to discern between right and wrong, a purpose within that feast to be passed from generation to generation, to understand once you come into this life, once you are awakened, we must now begin to grow, study, learn, improve in worship, seeking to discern good and evil, my brothers and sisters. And this is a decision-making process. Therefore, this part 2 of restoring dominion that I spoke of in part 1, the dominion that was assigned to Adam before the fall of man, a restoring of understanding the power that the Almighty Father have entrusted us with, a time to take over these earthen vessels and not be so responsive to our cognitive, our mental factor, that fleshly factor. I talked about giving our dominion to our flesh. It's what Adam and Eve did. And the flesh told the spirit of Adam, you're naked. And I believe from there on in, the flesh was dictating things based on the outward, the physical. But the Most High is saying in these last days, our inward man will stir up and be quickened by him with the strength and power to manage these earthen vessels, to come into subjection to him and witness all that he has for us. My brothers and sisters, would you want someone to be in charge of you that have no experience, that have no development under their wings, to know what they're doing, to know the whys? Here's why, my brothers and sisters. The scriptures talk about having the belief to move mountains, trees. The scriptures tell us about those who were able to call fire from the sky. The scriptures tell us about those who turn waters to blood. The scriptures tell us about those who was able to smite the rivers and cause them to split apart so dry land would be before them. Are you not aware that everything the scriptures tell us about a young man named David, who slew Goliath, someone that was huge in stature? Do we honestly believe, my brothers and sisters, that none of these individuals had some type of experience or training or development to be used by the Almighty Father? I say to you, they did. And as end times ramp up, as widespread destruction, death, chaos, economic upheaval, as climate change and global warming, as things ramp up, O Yashar'al, we will discover those that have been developed to speak truth to power in the name of Yahusha. Let me continue as I go into this part 2, centered around decision making, my brothers and sisters. Let me read. Remember our beginnings, and that the Almighty Yahuah placed his breath in us. We have an inward man. And doing all that we are witnessing happening, I'm not hearing too many people saying it's time to gird up and strengthen the inward man by the power and might that the Most High has bestowed on us, that he has put in us. Consider Genesis 1:26-30. The Almighty One said, let us make man in our image according to our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over all the creeping creatures that creep on the ground. And the Almighty One created man in his image. In the image of the Almighty One, he created him. Male and female, he created them. The Almighty One blessed them. The Almighty One said to them, be fruitful and increase and fill the earth and subdue it and rule over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the heavens and over all creeping creatures on the earth. And the Almighty One said, see, I have given you every plant that yields seed, which is on the face of all the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed. To you it is for food. And to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the heavens, and to every creeping creature on the earth, in which there is a living being, every green plant is for food. And it came to be so. And then, if you would turn, that was Genesis 1:26-30. it talks about the power, the dominion that the Almighty Father gave us. And we know that at the fall of man, our brains, our intellect told Adam and Eve they were naked. But know this, my brothers and sisters. Genesis 2:7, and Yahuah, the Almighty One, formed the man out of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils breath of lives, and man became a living being. You see, my brothers and sisters, there is something that was breathed into that which came from the dirt. And that something was the spirit that the Almighty Father gave us. The spirit, my brothers and sisters. Restoring dominion, our spirit will take its rightful place. And I have spoken, my brothers and sisters, how I believe that this COVID-19 is an attack on a literal demonstration of when breath and water meets and form blood, and we have life in these earthen vessels. So it is spiritually that the breath of the Almighty Father breathed into us a spirit that have life. And when that spirit meets with his word, are we not aware of scriptures that talk about washing of water by the word? So when his breath and his word meet, we recognize that it is through the blood of the Lamb that we receive the life to function and walk in set apartness, my brothers and sisters. There's a dynamic that happens of which we cannot physically see. There are some things that can be physically explained, such as the lungs, how this COVID-19, I believe, is the crown disease, one of the crown diseases to attack breath and water by going to the lungs where they are brought together along with other functions, producing blood to nourish these bodies. And it wants to take our mind off of the awakening, how our bodies are being recognized as the vessel of the Almighty Father, how our life is through his word, acting as the water, through his breath, his spirit, quickening us. We will grow to understand, my brothers and sisters, there is much that we will not see. And there are things that we will see eventually, as proof will come. But prepare to discover the importance of belief and the power of life instructions, my brothers and sisters. How in life instructions we must understand the difference between right and wrong. Thus the Feast of Unleavened Bread, not using outside influence. You see, leavening means influence. Unleavened is not using any outside influence. The influence we will receive will be inward. It would be through the power and might of the Spirit of the Almighty Father. And one must believe. Consider Hebrews 11:1 and 11:6. 11:1 reads, and belief is the substance of what is expected, the proof of what is not seen. O Yashar'al, there are so many examples in scriptures when the servants of the Almighty Father acted on things they were directed without being able to see the proof until later. Hebrews 11:6 say, but without belief it's impossible to please him. For he who comes to the Almighty One has to believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of those who earnestly seek him. Yashar'al, there is more. Consider these words, my brothers and sisters. Matthew chapter 7. Matthew 17, my brothers and sisters. Read 17:20. The 17th chapter, 20th verse of Matthew reads, and Yahusha said to them, because of your unbelief, for truly I say to you, if you have belief as a mustard seed, you shall say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it shall move, and no matter shall be impossible for you. Prepare to discover the importance, belief, and power of life instructions. See, by going through the instructions, by being prepared, by being disciplined, we will learn how to speak truth to power and demonstrate the power and might. I have some questions here you may see on the screen that say, will mountains be moved during the end times? I say they will. Are you not aware that the scriptures even said there should be earthquake in diverse places? How many of us have even given thought that some of these earthquakes might be caused by the word of the servant of the Almighty Father Yahuah? How many have given thought that we may demonstrate speaking to mountains and their move, earthquakes being caused at the word of the servants, the chosen leaders of the Almighty Father, in order to move things and blaze a path to be gathered from the four corners of the earth? You see, my brothers and sisters, mountains will not be moved without causing an earthquake. Actually, earthquakes build mountains. I won't go into the dynamics. You can look that up. If you have the technology, look up how earthquakes form mountains and how, as a result of earthquakes, mountains are moved. Land is developed. My brothers and sisters, we do not know the power that we have in the Almighty Father, but soon and very soon, that assigned dominion will rise up as he restores into the power and might that he created us to have and demonstrate as we walk the face of this earth. We will witness some phenomenal things. Are you aware that in orders, should say order, for obstacles to be removed, many of us will experience the power of true set-apart dominion from Abba Yahuah, the Almighty One? Make no mistake, my brothers and sisters. End times are here. It's time for us to know how we are equipped for demonstrating assigned dominion, power. It's time for us to know the might, the strength of what is in. Here are my instructions to you, O Yashar'al. Seek to discern the discipline, the refinement that the Almighty Father is putting on you, me, on us as a set-apart nation. Seek to discern why it is important. See, there are no examples of a servant of Yahuah calling down fire and say, "Oops, my bad. I didn't mean to burn them up. It was the ones over there to the right or to the left." We don't see that. We don't see any examples of Musha saying, "Oh, I didn't mean for the ground to open up and swallow them, to take the children. I just wanted them to get Dathan and Abiram and Kirah." Speaking of number 16 is what I'm talking about, my brothers and sisters. You see, my brothers and sisters, there's no example of Yahuah even saying, "My bad. I didn't mean to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. I meant to destroy the Philistines over there in the other land." That doesn't happen, O Yashar'al. The power and might of the Almighty Father makes no mistakes. So we who desire to be used by him in the demonstrating of fire, the demonstrating of calling rain to cease, or causing mountains to move, or trees to be cursed or moved, the power to heal, the power to cause blindness to come upon someone. We who desire these phenomenal powers that the Most High has demonstrated throughout Scripture on many occasions, we who desire powers to tell demons to go into pigs, to cast out demons, to heal, we must understand the instructions. We must understand he who leads us. We must be able to discern, recognize the difference between good and evil. So our decision process will come by as we study. And when the Spirit moves us, he will quicken us with the scriptures that justifies and support what he is quickening us to do. And there is no actions that he would give us that would be a conflict to the scriptures in whole. In other words, one can pick a scripture and say, "You're not supposed to judge me. Can't judge me." Not knowing there's a scripture that says he that is spiritual judges all things. Not knowing that if we are vessels of the Almighty Father, he will use us to judge. Not knowing that when it says judgment begins at the house of the Almighty Father first, he is working in us, through us, to execute that judgment. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, the power and might that we desire to witness going forward will come with precision, not mistakes, not a oops, oh, wow, I didn't mean to do that. It's time to be serious and witness what is unfolding, my brothers and sisters. Let me continue. Yashar'al, my brothers and sisters, consider these words. Remember these words and know the power of Abba Yahuah's Spirit. Matthew 6:31-34 reads as follows. Do not worry then, saying, what shall we eat, what shall we drink, or what shall we wear? For all these nations seek for, and your heavenly Father knows that you need all these. But seek first. Remember the instructions of life, my brothers and sisters. Seek first the reign of the Almighty One and his righteousness, and all these shall be added to you. Do not then worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow shall have its own worries. Each day has enough evil of itself. My brothers and sisters, understand this. What he is saying is don't worry about tomorrow. He didn't say don't plan. He didn't say don't prepare. For Noah prepared an ark. Yashar'al gathered the things that they had in Mitzrayim or Egypt as they prepared to leave. We even see a parable about the maidens or the virgins who prepared their lamps with oil. He said, don't worry. He did not say don't prepare. Some of us will recognize that our scriptures, there will be times when he say, just leave, walk, leave everything behind. Just leave with the clothes on your back. Some of us don't realize that that means there will be those who will prepare and have some clothes for you or have some food for you. And just as there will be people equipped with various different things, as well as individuals that will demonstrate the power to call the birds, the quail to come and fall from the sky to provide us with meat, or those who will have the power to speak to the rock and cause it to spring forth fresh water to drink. We will witness a demonstration of belief and power, the dominion that the Almighty Father assigned us with, come to ramp up in these end times. Consider Romans 8:12-14. So then, brothers, we are not debtors to the flesh, to live according to the flesh. For if you live according to the flesh, you are going to die. But by the Spirit, you put to death the deeds of the body, you shall live. For as many as led by the Spirit of the Almighty One, these are the sons of the Almighty One. Make no mistake, my brothers and sisters, we are about to see actions regarding things that will bring us into restored dominion. Yashar'al. Prepare to discern between good and evil like never before imagined. Consider Hebrews chapter 5, verse 12-14. For indeed, although by this time you ought to be teachers, you need someone to teach you again the first elements of the words of the Almighty One. And you have become such as need milk and not solid food. For everyone partaking of milk is inexperienced in the word of righteousness, for he is a babe. But solid food is for the mature whose senses have been trained by practice to discern both good and evil. Trained, my brothers and sisters. Make no mistake, the Most High is training us, developing us, and he has begun to feed us with meat, my brothers and sisters. And that meat will produce someone strong spiritually, someone yielding to him. You see, I'm not saying you got to jump through all these hurdles, but I am saying we must learn to discern what the Almighty Father is saying and preparing us to say and or do Consider these words, my brothers and sisters. Jeremiah 1, 4 and 5. Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 4 and 5. It says, now the word of Yahuah came to me, saying, before I formed you in the belly, I knew you, and before you came out of the womb, I did set you apart. I appointed you a prophet to nations. My brothers and sisters, are you aware what the Almighty Father is saying? Are you aware that he knew before we was formed in the belly of our mothers? Are we aware, Yashar'al, that he who is the Almighty One knows all, sees all, hears all, and his discipline comes before us? And I say to you, O Yashar'al, during these last days, what do you think the Most High knows about you, me? What do you think he's familiar with? Wouldn't it be safe to say he's familiar with all that he has made us to be? Wouldn't it be safe to say he's disciplining us, refining us to do tasks? Wouldn't it be safe to say, O Yashar'al, that the Almighty Father set us apart for a reason? We are the end time servants of the Almighty Father Yahuah. And we must grow to recognize what is expected. It's time to discern what the Almighty Father Yahuah has in store for you, for me. These are the last days, my brothers and sisters. There is much to recognize. I've stated, O Yashar'al, I've stated on many occasions the importance of discerning. We will recognize when we gave our dominion to the flesh. We will recognize that just as Adam and Eve caused the fall of man as a result of giving in to the serpent, I would say to you, they gave their dominion away. And the flesh said, I'm naked. And I would say this is akin to us, O Yashar'al. Just as Adam was newly formed and Eve was newly formed, and even though they were empowered with the dominion that the Almighty Father gave them, it was still so much for them to learn and experience. I say to you, as we are awakened, it's so much more for us to learn and experience during these end times, my brothers and sisters. It's so much for us to realize what must be done during these extreme times. So it's time to take possession of this flesh, this earthen body. It's time to yield to the discipline that the Most High provides to strengthen our inward man, so that the outward man will demonstrate a worship and obedience like never before. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, it's time to receive the restoring of the dominion that was given to us. Note, my brothers and sisters, the time is now. The time is now to discern the process for demonstrating set-apart power. You might be the one that is responsible to move a mountain as a group of set-apart children are moving towards the exit point. If it's the Western Hemisphere, they would be moving eastward. If they are in the northern country, they will be moving southward. If they are in the eastern country beyond the promised land, they will be moving westward. And if they are in the southern, they would be moving northward. You see, my brothers and sisters, there are paths we must cross. There are journeys. There are intermittent processes that we will experience as we witness being gathered from the four corners of the earth, as we witness being guided to the last point and place that the Most High would have us, that last position that he would have us. My brothers and sisters, we must be able to see how to discern good and evil. Many want to be used to demonstrate the power given by the Almighty Father Yahuah, but fail to go through the training processes for such actions. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, what say you? Is this really what you want? To keep fighting? To keep kicking against the pricks, so to speak? Is it something that you desire? To say, I want power, I wish that was me, or I think that's cool to have the power to do the things that will be phenomenal in the coming of days? My brothers and sisters, we want it, but are we yielding to the instruction, the power, and the might of the Almighty Father? Are we, my brothers and sisters? It's time to wake up. It's time to ask questions. It's time to recognize that we are stepping on proving grounds. End times will prove to bring about a time of testing, times of judgment. Are we going to take the energy to fight against obedient ones that are used by him to bring about correction and bear false witness against them? Are we going to fight to preserve our egos? Yashar'al? Are we? Is that really what we want to do? Preserve our egos? My brothers and sisters, take a moment and reflect and pause and ask yourself what you're listening to, what you're hearing. Does it make sense? Is it something that is necessary? We will, my brothers and sisters, we will come to points where we would recognize what is expected of us, what we must do. You probably say, I'm tired of listening. I don't like to pause. I want quickness, speed. Hurry, hurry, hurry this thing along. Is that not what we seek? To hurry it all along? My brothers and sisters, at some point in time, at some place in time, we will begin to recognize why we are going through the things that are unfolding before our very eyes. Why we must discern between good and evil. Why? Because he has a plan for us. I say to you, O Yashar'al, do not despise the discipline from the Almighty Father. There are those who would have us think there are those who would have us think differently. My brothers and sisters, many want to be used to demonstrate the power of the Almighty Father, but they fail to want to yield to the training and instruction. Would you want a 2-year-old to steer the ship that you are traveling on to the promised land? Or will you want someone that has been trained by the Almighty Father, disciplined by the Almighty Father, not according to man? For the Almighty Father's development and discipline will prove to bring about things that we may not have recognized. Bear with me, my brothers and sisters. Slight technical difficulties. We see here in Luke, consider these words, discern the power and responsibilities that are being restored. Consider these words, O Yashar'al. Luke 12:48 say, but he who did not know, yet did what deserved flogging, shall be beaten with few. And everyone to whom much is given, from him much shall be demanded. Let me say, hear that again. Much shall be demanded. And to whom much has been entrusted, from him much more shall be asked. What is asked of you, O Yashar'al, we are about to see. What is asked of me, you, and of Yashar'al. It's time to discern what is given to you, to me, to Yashar'al. It's time to discern what we must do, O Yashar'al. Make no mistake, end times are here. John 14:12 say, truly, truly, I say to you, he who believes in me, the works that I do, he shall do also, and greater works than these he shall do, because I go to my Father. Who among us can say, what are all the greater works that he mentioned? What work do you believe will take place during these end times as conditions ramp up as described in the scriptures, from famine, pestilence, diseases, earthquakes in diverse places, wars and rumors of wars? Consider the final exodus and possible martyrdom. Consider the place and position where the Almighty Father will have you. Also consider what it will take for the 144,000 Hebrews, Abraham, in great multitude, mentioned in Revelation 7 chapter, to come together in unity. We are chosen. We who are chosen will demonstrate the meaning of restored dominion as we begin to speak with power. O Yashar'al, Yashar'al. Hear these words, my brothers and sisters, and know what is important. Know what is asked of us. Decision making. Are you ready? Remember, it is written, like in the days of Noah and the days of Lot. Men disregarded responsibilities. Men disregarded the possibility of the dominion that the Almighty Father had for us, those who will worship and obey him. But know this, my brothers and sisters. We see demonstrated power throughout Scripture. Restoring dominion will surprise many and will prove to be true. Yes, am I redundant? And you say, enough of that. I don't need to hear anymore. One can be as a tree that welcomes the water, that strengthens it. Or one can be as a tree on stony ground that dies because it's unable to have enough roots to continually get the flow of water. Meaning, you can continue to patiently listen to these words or mark it as too repetitive and too redundant and cut it off. The choice is yours. It will not stop what the Almighty Father has for it to do. The words of the Almighty Father gives life and will not return to him void, as mentioned in Isaiah 11:55. Don't be on the painful end like those in the days of Noah and Lot. Be like the one on the receiving end, such as Noah and his family, or Lot and his family. Let me continue, or Yashar'al. My brothers and sisters, Consider, power and dominion are demonstrated through the scriptures. Consider these words, O Yashar'al. Believe it or not, there are steps to being used by the Almighty Father Yahuah in demonstrating set-apart power. Think about David's teachings and experience before he slew Goliath. We will identify set-apart training and discipline as we face end-time obstacles that will and must be removed. Consider an excerpt regarding David, and I'm speaking of 1 Samuel 17th chapter, verse 34 to 37. 1 Samuel 17th chapter, verse 34 through 37. Then David said to Shaul, your servant has been tending sheep for his father. So one, we see that David knew how to take care of the sheep. So there was some teaching, there was some development going on for him to know how to tend the sheep. And it says, and when a lion or a bear came and took a lamb out of the flock, David said, I went out after it and struck it and rescued it from its mouth. And when I rose again, I took hold of it by its, and when it rose again, rather, I took hold of it by its beard and struck it and killed it. You see, David not only was raised on how to take care of sheep, he was trained on how to protect sheep. He was given the power, the dominion, the courage, the bravery to kill a lion or the bear. Going on to the 36th verse. Your servant has stricken both lion and bear. And this uncircumcised Philistine, he talking about Goliath, shall be like one of them, seeing he has reproached the armies of the living Almighty One. And David said, Yahuah, who delivered me from the paw of the lion and from the paw of the bear, he does deliver me from the hand of this Philistine. And Shaul said to David, go, and Yahuah be with you. If you read the entire story, my brothers and sisters, you will know that as a result of the experiences, the development, the teachings, the belief that David had, he demonstrated power. And Goliath was killed for mere stone that not only hit him hard in the forehead, but it sunk into his head. Are you ready, my brothers and sisters? Are you ready to witness power as David demonstrated? Are you ready to witness power greater than anything we've ever seen? And I'm saying this to the point that nowhere in time has the world ever had nearly 8 billion people on it. See, these are the last days, the final days of man in these earthen vessels as we know it. And I say to you, O Yashar'al, individuals who demonstrate obedience to Abba Yahuah will understand our responsibilities, will understand what it is to be used to demonstrate his power. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, cannot stress enough, do not fear what man can do, but fear Yahuah. Yield to his discipline. Fear Yahuah so that you don't make a mistake and drop the wrong mountain on the wrong person. Or move a mountain or the trees or cause it to stop raining at the wrong time. Now you might say, well, would Yahuah allow it to be? I don't think so. I'm just giving an example out of permission, sharing with you an example of why it's important for us to move into sincerity and grow in discerning what the Most High Father is saying to us and preparing us for, O Yashar'al. I cannot stress enough that out of obedience comes abundant power and might, my brothers and sisters. We must never forget the source of true set-apart power. Never forget to give credit and esteem to the Almighty Father. My instructions to you, O Yashar'al, to me, to us, is out of obedience the power and might of the Almighty Father will come in healings, in causing prison doors to fly open and releasing our brothers and sisters who the Most High is calling to be gathered. to the healing, strengthening those in the hospitals with the power and might to walk out of them, strengthening brothers, sisters, and those who must lead those whom they be hanging around, their families, their loved ones, and move into obedience. Power and might comes, my brothers and sisters, and abundance will prove to be before us as end times ramp up. And as we experience speaking things of power, let us always remember it's happening because of the power and might of the Almighty Father working in us, through us. Let us not be overtaken to think, oh, we are like the Almighty One. We got the power. I got the power. He got the power. She got the power. No, my brothers and sisters. For the day we do that, the day we mistakenly fall into disobedience. Remember, the scriptures talk about there were those that cast out devils in Yahusha's name and did things in Yahusha's name, many signs and wonders. But the scriptures tell us, if possible, it would fool the very elect. My brothers and sisters, let us be mindful of all that is brought before us. Remember Romans 12:3, which reads, for I say, through the favor which has been given to me, to everyone who is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he should think, but to think soberly, as the Almighty One has given to each a measure of belief. Let us never step away from knowing the source of our strength, our power, our dominion. Yashar'al, my brothers and sisters, are you ready? Are you ready to witness how end times will prove it's time to discover our restored dominion, our power, a power that is not, nevertheless, not me, but he that is within me, that is greater than anything before us that we're facing? Are you ready, O Yashar'al? Hear these words, my brothers and sisters, and know end times will prove how to rule and speak all things that are assigned by the Almighty Father. Discerning what he's saying. I can't drive it home enough. Discern. Prepared to know how to speak and when to speak, and demonstrate that we are among those witnessing the restoring of dominion. Yashar'al, my brothers and sisters, there are details, there are plans, there are processes. And though I've taken much of your time to speak something over and over, for each a different experience, some will take the fullness of this message and walk with strength as the Most High quickens their spirit. Some that need to hear me say over and over. Some did. We may just be surprised that we'll wake up in the middle of controversy or conflict or extreme situations. And remember, as the Spirit of Yahusha brings to remembrance, the dominion that we have, the power and might that we have been given by the Almighty Father. End times will prove responsibilities and dominion, that it comes with plans, details, and processes. And I say to you, O Yashar'al, White Rose family has a plan. I submit to you the bullets before, a plan to build set-apart team of leaders, proven to be vetted and chosen by the Almighty Father Yahuah in Yahusha's name, a plan to develop an information and resource center, both physical and virtual, a plan to build a team with diverse skills, mentoring and educating the youth and young as the old begin to die off, a plan to identify and purchase land to prepare for the gathering, a mass gathering of a diverse, set-apart group led by the Spirit and might of the Almighty Father to prepare for that exit point, which I believe in the Western Hemisphere will be the state of Virginia. A plan to identify and support safe zones as we find ourselves beginning to migrate and move. The coronavirus, COVID-19, along with other diseases, plagues, and destruction that is coming. And in the wake, in other words, in following civil unrest and economic collapse, movement will come And there will be times as we find ourselves migrating that we will need to stop, freshen up, strengthen up, and be safe. White Rose family will contribute towards that, such as I described, to provide guidance and support for completing the journey, to provide guidance for the inner court life, the life of the set-apart children of the Almighty Father, to provide instructions, demonstration, actions as we find ourselves waiting for Yahusha HaMashiach's physical return. Yes, there are plans. It's not the be-all, end-all plan, but it is a plan during end times that will contribute to other plans that will join hand in hand and link as we witness a great multitude, as we witness the 144,000 come to be, emerge, literally, before our very eyes, O Yashar'al. And with any plan, there are costs. Some will think that the cost that I'm talking about here is just money. No. The cost is your service, my service, our service to one another. Mainly our service and worship to the Almighty Father. The cost may be financial. It may be time in demonstrating our skills. It may be resources that are needed. It may be actions. Consider, my brothers and sisters, supporting, contributing while we can, while we are able. Let us contribute to the plans that the Most High have in bringing and unifying his children, O Yashar'al. Let us make decisions that are indeed set apart. I set up a Cash App under White Rose Family. There are other means if you would like to donate, contribute, sponsor, or invest money into the plan of White Rose Family as it relates to gathering Yashar'al for these final days. Ask questions, my brothers, of anyone. Yes, I say use it or lose it, because the time will come, and we see already that there is wealth that people once had, but as the Tao have crashed on many levels, that same wealth is no longer there. There's wealth that some people had, and then they died and left it for anyone to fight over. Some left wills, some did not. What say you, O Yashar'al? Are you utilizing the skills, the resources, the wealth for building up a set-apart nation as we move into these last days before the physical return of Yahusha HaMashiach? Pray and watch, O Yashar'al. Decision making. As I bring this segment to a close, remember, there are instructions that we must discern that equips us and prepare us for the power we will demonstrate, for the dominion that we will demonstrate to rule over the things that were assigned us in the beginning of the ages. Decision making is a serious thing, and it requires us to move as we are directed and led by the Spirit of the Almighty Father. Let us discern set apart details and processes, O Yashar'al, and prepare to shout hallelujah as we witness the deliverance from the Almighty Father. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, though trying times are here, the most glorious, the most phenomenal times and days are ahead as we move towards reflecting the crown that the Almighty Father has given us, a crown of everlasting life. We will know what it means to live with the dominion that he's given us and with the service that is required of us. On that note, Yashar'al, I really do salute your patience, your tolerance, your pursuit of set apartness. My prayer, my brothers and sisters, is for us to be clear in understanding what the Most High is delivering to us as instructions for life. Be clear and know what we're supposed to do, when we're supposed to do it. Be clear on knowing whom we are to gather with and rally with as the 144,000 begin to emerge, as the great multitude begins to emerge. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, may we identify the favor that we have. In Yahusha's name, I come to you as your brother, as a servant to him. May my actions and words reflect that of an obedient servant. And may anything good coming from me that is identified and confirmed is set apart. May the Almighty Father and Creator Yahuah get all credit and esteem in Yahusha's name. I say to you, I bid you much Shalum.